LadyShel, and we are going to be talking about Unearthed Arcana, or also known as UA. We have compiled some links for you if you are interested in checking out the current UA. There is a lot of test material involved with the Unearthed Arcana for the D&D 5th edition rule set. You can purchase the Unearthed Arcana on the Fantasy Grounds store. It's only $1, and it contains most of the Unearthed Arcana that's out there. And on Steam, it's actually free. So that would be something that you could check out as well. And I gave LadyShel the links, and we'll also put them in our archive video description as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get right to it. So on the screen, I have basically a blank character sheet, and I also have the library open, which is going to be the main core books. I have some of Rob Tui's coding effects, and then I also have the Unearthed Arcana. So in Fantasy Grounds, there is a player side and a DM side. So depending on what you're doing, you'll utilize either one of those. So I'm going to check out the reference manual in the Unearthed Arcana player side. So if you go through here, it actually breaks down the list of different classes, different races, different backgrounds, and you can go through these and take a look at what they offer you in differences and changes. So let's see. You have some classes here. The Artificer is in here. There are some other different classes and races, subclasses, things like that. So in subclasses, you have a whole bunch of different builds here. So, for instance, you have the Barbarian, Path of the Wild Soul. There's Path of the Beast. There are all kinds of different variations on what's already available in the official product. So this stuff is pretty cool. They have different builds and different things that you can make. So I think we're going to make a UA character, and we're also going to take a look at some of the sources that come from the Unearthed Arcana. But the main thing we wanted to cover was that we are going to basically show you how to preserve some of the changes or some of the different things that you want to get into and look at. So what we're going to do is show you how to kind of back some of this stuff up in case. So the first thing I'm going to go over is basically the different types of things that you will have to copy. So basically what we're going to have is, let me see. All right. So for characters, you need to check out different sorts of basically different sorts of things that you will need. So for instance, if you want to build a class or preserve the classes that you get from the Unearthed Arcana, you're going to have to make copies. So in other words, you're going to need your races. You're going to need your perhaps backgrounds, classes, feats, potentially skills, and spells. And then potentially you're going to need, let's see, you got your different backgrounds and different things that you're going to have to copy over in order to preserve these different makeups in UA. So for instance, if there's this Centaur here, for instance, that's from Unearthed Arcana. So I'm going to filter these groups out to just Unearthed Arcana. You have all these different races here. Now, if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to preserve the Minotaur and the Centaur, you would have to make a copy of these. So for instance, this Minotaur character, if I wanted to keep this race without having to worry about the different changes or things that are going to need to be fixed, then I would make a copy of this. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this over. And you'll see I have two different variations. I have this Minotaur copy, and then the Minotaur that's part of Unearthed Arcana. So in this case, I would make my own group here in race. So I am going to click the edit button, make it my own group, and I'm just going to call it UA stuff. Now that I have this name, I'm going to drag over that copy that I made so that I can preserve what's in there. So I'm going to drag this over and drop it in this UA stuff category. And now I have my own group, and this is a copy of the original. However, you're going to have to go through and probably recreate all these different aspects of UA if these are not from the SRD or from the actual player's handbook. So what you'd want to do is make sure that these things are actually linked to the new entry and not a part of the UA. So in other words, if you try to preserve this, you might be preserving just the race, but not actually all the different things that make up that race. So you're going to have to copy all these different things potentially, depending on what it's linked to. And you're going to do that for the races, for the backgrounds, for classes, anything that you want to keep that's part of Unearthed Arcana that you kind of want to make into your own module. And you can use this for your personal use. You cannot distribute it, but you can make copies of everything. That way, if anything changes, because it does monthly, sometimes, a couple times a month, they'll put out changes to the Unearthed Arcana, so you won't have a very good time trying to keep up with all of it. So if you won't, if there's something changed, you won't be able to tell because unless you knew the class really well. So you want to make sure that you preserve anything that you like out of the Unearthed Arcana and make your own groups for each group type, like skills, spells, feats, classes, races, all those, and then all your sub races and your subclasses as well. So you need to have all that stuff so you can preserve your particular build that you like. So I'm going to go ahead and try to make this Minotaur. I'm going to use all UA stuff. So I'm going to see how this copy goes and see if it pulls on any of the other data. So hopefully that is basically a way that you can kind of see how this works. So I'm going to use the copy of the race that I had copied over from the original Unearthed Arcana material. So for now, I'm just going to give him the standard array. So I just gave him some basic stats, gave him a high wisdom. And now I'm going to grab a background. So if there was any backgrounds in Unearthed Arcana, I'm going to check that out. So I'm going to go to backgrounds. I'm going to filter. Nope, there's no extra backgrounds, so I don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use an existing one. So in this case, I think I'm going to use like an Outlander or maybe a Spy or something like that. And Outlander. So I went ahead and added that. So obviously I did the ability scores first, then in background. And now the next thing is I'm going to use this Minotaur, and I'm going to see if it pulls stuff over correctly. The only way I can really truly tell if it actually copied everything over properly is I'm going to temporarily unload the Unearthed Arcana. So if you go to your modules folder and click modules, you can use a filter that's on the right-hand side on the bottom where it says all. and this will show you all the different books that you have loaded. In this case, I'm going to unload the player side of Unearthed Arcana and the DM side. I'm just going to do that temporarily, and then I'm going to check to see if the Minotaur actually copied over properly. So I'm going to go ahead and grab and drop it in the race. Yeah, it looks like it copied everything correctly. So what I'm looking for is that it actually set the speed and the different traits, because if not, then you're going to have to go through and build all these other assets. So far that worked out pretty good. Now I'm going to go to class, and I'm going to grab a class for this. So I have an Outlander Minotaur. So I want to see what UA is going to offer me in terms of different subclasses and such. So he's got a fairly high wisdom and a decent con. So I want to see if there's anything that would really match him very well.
He sounds like a cleric.
Yeah, he does. Maybe we'll use a cleric. Let's take a look. So there are no actual classes except for the artificer in UA. So I'm going to go ahead and reactivate that module since I'm going to be using the UA subclasses.
Maybe he could be an evil high priest.
That would be cool. That's from the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah, I see that.
Let's see. So Unearthed Arcana, I'm loading the player's side, and I'll load the DM side just in case. The DM stuff has more like items and those sort of things. So now I have this Unearthed Arcana Cleric. So I'm going to drag that over into the class and level box. So I open this little magnifying glass, and I'm going to drag this over. So Unearthed Arcana Cleric. And now it wants me to pick 2 skills. Well, before I do that, I want to make sure that I don't double up. So in the skills, I have athletics and intimidation. That comes from my background. So if this is going to be a cleric, I would think religion and maybe medicine would be good, or history. I think history.
Those are the 2 I always take, religion and medicine, when I make a cleric.
Yeah, I got history and religion, but you can pick whatever you want, but I'll go ahead and get medicine.
History's good.
Yeah, history's decent. Okay, so I picked that, and now it wants me to pick a domain. So this is where the different subdomains come in from Unearthed Arcana. So we have Tempest. I think that one's official. There is Twilight domain, the Order domain, Unity domain, and I see a Knowledge domain. I don't know if that's from UA.
I don't think knowledge is from there. What is the Twilight one? I'm curious.
Let's see. Twilight governs the transitions between light and dark. So it's a time of rest and comfort. So it's usually like nightfall and sunrise, those sort of things. Deities of healing or respite, bravery or protection, travel or transition. They give you examples. Clerics who serve these deities tend to be brave, delving into the dark to hold its dangers at bay and to bring comfort to those lost far from the light. So you get probably light and dark spells, which sounds right. You get Twilight Sanctuary. So at second level, you get these like Sanctuary type spell, which kind of.
That's your divinity, huh?
Yep. And then Eyes of the Night, you get that at first, and you can get Dark Vision even if you normally don't have it.
Do Minotaurs have dark vision? It doesn't look like they do.
No, they do not.
That would be handy.
And you get a bonus proficiency with martial weapons and heavy armor. So you get some.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
I think you could get a 19 or 18 AC with that, with the shield.
Yeah. So let's check that out. Let's do the Twilight domain. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and I'm going to accept it. But before I do, I want to double check in the library, in the reference mount, and make sure that is actual UA content. So you got classes.
True.
See, I see the order domain. So Twilight must be from a different source.
I've never seen it before. Maybe
Hmm.
it's from a new book that I don't have yet. Apparently.
But I do like the idea of the Twilight domain. So now there's the order domain. Let's take a look at that. So you get discipline, obedience, civil, religious, or both for enforcement. Gods who grant this domain would be like Tyr or Bane, or any of those types of gods, Asmodeus. The ideal of order is obedience to the law above all else.
I think Tyr would be a good one. That's the god of justice, correct?
Mm-hmm. So you get some order spells, which is like command, heroism. You get bonus proficiency, so you get heavy armor in that case. And then you get voice of authority, which is basically you can invoke the power of law to drive an ally to attack. And then you have channel divinity, orders demand. So it gives you intimidating presence over others.
I'm looking this up, and where I looked up on the internet, and it says Twilight domain is from UA.
Okay.
And unless this is a different, no, it says 5th edition. You get Leomund's tiny hut at 5th level. That is such a cool spell.
All right. So we'll go with Twilight then.
I like it.
So Twilight, we're going to go ahead and click this check here. We're going to check that off and click OK. And it tells you everything that's added. All the things that come with that class are added here to your features. And then all the traits have been added as well. And then we have to change a few things in here, but we'll get to that shortly. So we have the order domain, or the Twilight domain. Now what I'm going to do is level the character up a little bit. So now that I've chose the main things, I'm going to go ahead and level up. So all I do is grab this little pin or this circle and drop it back in, and that actually adds another level to it. And then I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to go to level 3, and there we go. So now this character is 3rd level, and all I did was drag this little pin, pick it up, and drop it back in here, and it levels you up. It's that simple. So I have the ability scores I put in first. I did the background, the race, and then the class, and then I leveled it up. So normally at this level, you would have 900 XP and 2700 to get the 4th level. Now, some DMs don't use that type of leveling, but I just put that in there for prosperity's sake. I'm going to take a look at these stats here. I have a 15 strength, 12 dex, 15 con, 10 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and an 8 charisma. So that is basically how this guy turned out. Was a kind of a semi-powerful cleric, almost like a fighter cleric in a sense. So that is pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is potentially look for a portrait, but I'm not going to do that right now. And then I also could get a token if I was going to, and that would be fun because you can get all kinds of cool looking tokens. Let me see if I have one. All right, so here's a token.
Did Bernardo make any tokens with the Minotaurs?
I don't know. I don't
Seems
think
like
so.
he might have.
I
No?
don't think he did. No, not that I know of. Yeah, he doesn't have any that I know of.
Oh, I like that one. Where did that come from?
I
Is that a
believe
Devon Knight one?
it might be, yeah. I think it is.
Nice.
So that's his token. And then for a photo, I don't really have anything good, but I do have this War Minotaur thing. So that'll work for now.
I think the only bad thing is that your token is holding like a spear or something, and that's not really cleric-y, more
Well, they get
fighter-y,
heavy
but
weapons.
that's okay.
They get martial weapons.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they end up being like a fighter cleric in a sense. And he's got the strength for it. So he's got a 15 strength. So he's pretty tough. All right. So he's got his skills. So I want to go ahead and add anything that I need to for his different traits and such. But one
Does
thing.
he get any tools?
It doesn't. It says he gets one type of instrument. So I'm going to give him a pan flute or maybe a lyra. So I'm going to add an instrument. Maybe a hand drum would be better.
Do Minotaurs have hands or do they have hooves for their arms?
Good question. I think they have arms, regular arms. And I'm going to base it off dexterity since it's not really a performance base. It's more to do with your ability to tap on the drum.
I think the drum could be good for like beating the drum before you go to war or something.
And then, let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is check out these features. So the bonus feature is you gain proficiency with martial weapons and heavy armor. So here in armor, it says light, medium, and shields. So I need to notate heavy armor here. And then where it says all simple weapons, I'm going to put martial weapons. That way you're basically proficient with just about anything. And then for your languages, you have Common, Minotaur, and one of your choice.
Do we need to add Minotaur to the language thing?
Good question.
I'm not sure that's a regular language.
So in the options, as a game master, you want to look at options here for languages. And it is not. So good call. So I'm going to add it. So in languages, I'm going to click the edit button, click the plus button. And I'm going to make sure it's spelled the same, Minotaur. There we go. So good call. So now we have the Minotaur language available. So if you have this drop-down menu, it'll show up here. So that's a good call. So what do you think we should have? Sylvan or Primordial or maybe Abyssal or one of the other?
For some reason, I'm thinking he should be with dwarves because dwarves are like fighters, and maybe as a Minotaur Outlander, you would think he would be in contact with some dwarves. We'll ask the chat. Hey, chat, what do you think that we should put for our third language?
Yeah, it's kind of important that we have a good third language. I was thinking one of the like Celestial or Abyssal maybe, or Primordial. Anything that is above and beyond normal protocol for languages. But that Dwarvish works too. A lot of runes and magical things are written in Dwarvish, so. Okay. So now.
Wait. Erlen just gave us Sylvan.
Sylvan. Okay.
Let's take a Sylvan since it's a suggestion from our chat. Thank you.
Sylvan it is. Okay. So now Channel Divinity is basically you get to use this when you finish a short or long rest. Some of the Channel Divinity changes depends on what your specific class is. So this is just saying that you get it, and one of them is Turn Undead. The other is Twilight Sanctuary. So you have 2 effects, and we will deal with that in a little bit once we start building the powers. The Divine Domain is just a description that tells you that you get domain spells and you pick your domain at first level. Eyes of the Night. So this is what gives you dark vision. And it says at first level, this feature you're blessed, allowing you to see through the deepest gloom. You have dark vision with no maximum range. You can see in dim light as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. As an action, you can magically give the benefit of this feature to any number of creatures you can see within 10 feet of you. The shared benefit lasts for 10 minutes. You can extend this benefit a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, a minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That is really cool. So not only can you see it, but everybody in your party can see it. So
And I think that I like that it's not overpowered, that
mhm.
it's with a long rest rather than a short rest, because that might have been, too
Yeah, a little OP. Let's see. Spell casting, that just says that you get to cast cleric spells. Twilight Domain just talks about the description of it and what you get. Twilight Domain spells, this is bonus spells. So when we build the character up to 3rd level, we'll get some bonus spells, which don't count as part of your daily spells. Vigilant Blessing. So the knight has taught you to be vigilant. As an action, you can give one creature you touch, including yourself, advantage on the next initiative roll the creature makes. This benefit ends immediately after the roll or if you use this feature again. Wow. That's really cool. So you can give somebody, including yourself, advantage on the next initiative roll. That is really cool. Okay, and then
How many times can you use it?
It's indefinite.
So you can use it every time that you're gonna roll initiative?
Yep. As an action.
Wow.
Though you have to use your action though.
Ah, there you go, as an action. Okay, that
So
helps.
yeah, that's what balances it, because then you can only use your bonus action and move after that.
Yeah, it's important that you look at the balance of each of the new attributes that you get to see whether you think that this is something that will work in your game or not.
That's right. And remember, this is all test material, so it's not something
That's true.
It's not cut in stone. Okay, then I have Wanderer, which comes from my background, and it gives you an excellent memory for maps and geography, and it makes it a little bit harder for you to actually get lost. And you can find fresh food and water for yourself and up to 5 other people per day, provided that the land has stuff to offer, such as berries, small game, water, and so forth. So that's a really cool feature. I'm sure that gets looked over quite a bit.
When you do the inventory, I'm hoping that they give the person a not cartography kit, but like isn't there a map kit or something? Not map kit. But I mean, if he's got this excellent memory for maps, you would think he would have like, parchment with him and be able to draw out, stuff while he's out in the wilderness and making sure he knows where he's going.
Yep. So we have Goring Rush. So immediately after you use the dash action on your turn, and you move at least as far as your speed, you can make one melee attack with your horns as a bonus action. So if you did the dash action on your turn, and you've moved at least as far as your speed. So basically at the end of your turn of where you've moved to. So in other words, if you move 30 feet, you have to at least move that far. And if you've taken the dash action, you can create a melee attack as a bonus action and use your horns.
Is the Minotaur's speed 30?
Yes. Yep. Okay, so the hammering horn is immediately after you hit a creature with a melee attack as part of the attack action. On your turn, you can attempt to shove that creature with your horns using your reaction.
Oh, with a react. So you mean you can, like, say, be 30 feet away from a target, move 30 feet, be right next to the target, and then you can use your bonus action to do a melee attack, and then you can use your reaction to hit them with your horns.
Yep.
Is that how I'm reading?
Yep. So you can,
That's
it's part
cool.
of your attack action. So you can attempt to shove that creature with your horns. The creature can be no more than one size larger than you. They have to be within 5 feet, and that creature has to make a strength check against a DC equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength modifier. If it fails,
We got a strong Minotaur too.
yeah,
What
if it
would that number
fails,
be?
in this case, it would be 8 plus 2 plus probably 2 again. Yeah, so it would be 12 total. So the DC 12 modifier for that save. So the enemy or the opponent would have to roll 12 or higher to avoid being pushed 5 feet.
Right over the cliff.
Okay, the actual horns themselves are a natural melee weapon. So if you don't have a melee weapon, you can use the horns. When you hit with them, the target takes piercing damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier. So you have a natural weapon. You have a hybrid nature, human and monstrosity. You can be affected by a game effect if it works on either or your creature types. So that's a balance. So if something, a spell or some kind of a ability affects monstrosities, you will be affected by that. So that's kind of a balancing point. Or if you're a humanoid.
Is the Minotaur medium size?
Yes, for all intents and purposes, it is. Yes, they are quite large though, but they're considered medium. You have the proficiency in the intimidation skill, so let's see if that carried over. Yep. So intimidation is there. So this is what they get for their class and their traits from their race. So we have all this stuff. Now we're going to go on to inventory. So I'm going to pull up the parcels.
This is using Rob Tui's
Yes.
module called
5e background and class.
5e background and class bundle. Yeah.
So this module makes it easier when you build your character. And what it does is instead of picking everything one at a time, it'll do a majority of your background equipment and your starting equipment for your class. So in this case, he's a far agent. No, he's a Outlander. So it gives you all the stuff for the Outlander. And then I'm going to go to Cleric and drop that in there, and you get all the different things for Cleric. So that is that. I might switch the information a little bit because I don't necessarily want to have a mace, although I like maces. I think I'm going to delete the mace. What kind of armor should we give him? He has scale right now. That's not too bad.
Chainmail, of course.
Chain it is. So I just got rid of the two main. I don't mind the crossbow. Let's see. So first of all, I'm going to find a case for the crossbow bolts. Some chainmail. And I'm going to give him a flail and a spear.
I'd like to see him have parchment and a pen so
Okay.
he can make maps.
Yeah, I
Or
think you're right.
a cartography thing, but that's a
Right.
tool, and I mean, I don't want to be
Right.
too overpowered.
Right. So he's got a spear.
So he looks like his
Mm-hmm.
not portrait, his token.
Yep. So there's a writing kit, and there is a mess kit, herbalism kit. Okay. So he's got the writing kit. So that has a small pouch with a quill, ink, folded parchment, and a small penknife.
Sounds perfect.
And I'm going to give him a scroll and a case for it, so that he can keep
Don't
his
forget the
maps.
crossbow case if you haven't put it in yet.
Yep, I got that. And I'm going to give him a potion or two of healing. Potion of healing. I'm going to get him a cloak. So he just has a big red cloak or something like that he wears. Okay, so that is all his gear. Now to organize it, I'm just going to type backpack next to the items I want to store. He has a walking stick staff.
Thanks for the follow. Let's see if I can say your name right. Nerfiner? Anyway, thanks for following.
So I just put the scroll in the scroll case. And then I have the crossbow bolts in a crossbow bolt case. I have a lot of his religious and small items in the pouch. I'm going to put his rations in his backpack. And they only had 2 days worth. I just changed it to 5. So he doesn't have any torches, but he does have 10 candles. And his religious amulet is going to be in the pouch, just in case. The staff, he doesn't really need that, so I'm just going to get rid of it. So he has a crossbow bolt and crossbow, a light one. He has a flail, a shield and armor, and a spear.
1 spear or 2?
Just 1. So he's good to go. He's got
So
10
the
gold.
spear can be melee or range, correct?
Yep. And it's versatile. So he can use it one-handed or two-handed.
What is his main melee weapon? Because with him having martial weapons, he could have a warhammer.
Right. His main weapon is the flail. That's the chain with the balls on the ends.
Okay.
And then he uses a shield with that. But sometimes, depending on the situation, he'll throw the spear or he'll use it two-handed and drop his shield or put it, on his back and use it. So it depends on the situation. But he's a very martial kind of warrior priest type. So we've already taken care of the proficiency with martial weapons and heavy armor. He already has this menacing, which is the intimidation skill. So we've already taken care of that. Let's see, anything else? Okay, we're good there. Oh, I forgot his drum. There we go. So he's got his little drum and all his gear. He's still doing well for his carrying capacity, so not too worried about that. His writing kit is stored in his pouch, so he's good to go. All right. So that takes care of just the equipment side. Now for notes, definitely going to be a male. I don't know how long they live, but I'm sure he's over 6 feet in height.
Is there information on the race, but Minotaur race?
There
If we
might
look
be.
it up?
There might be. Let me see. So if I go to races, and let's see, speed, size. Minotaurs average over 6 feet in height, and they have strong, stocky builds. Your size is medium. So he's 6'5". Normally
So
they
they,
lean towards lawful, so I might make him lawful neutral.
Oh, that's an interesting choice. So they didn't say anything about their, oh yeah, in here. Doesn't say anything about age? It sure does.
Nope. And languages, it's already there. Yeah, it may just depend on the world that they're from. So that might be why. So we'll say he looks like he's about 30. Weight is probably like 275 pounds or something. So he's a pretty big boy. So there he goes. Ideals, bonds, and flaws. I'm going to have to say, let's see what the Outlander gives us. So if you go to your background and scroll down to the bottom of the list, you have all these different traits. So it says, I'm wanderlust. I watch over my friends. I once ran 25 miles without stopping to warn of an orc clan. I have a lesson for every situation drawn from observing nature. I have no place, stock in wealth or well-mannered folk. Money and manners won't save you from a owlbear. I'm always picking up things, absently fiddling with them. I feel far more comfortable around animals than people. I was raised by wolves. I'll just say I watch over my friends as if they were a litter of newborn pups.
I looked up on the D&D wiki, and
Mhm.
it says age. Minotaurs age and mature about the same rate as humans up to the age of 18. From then on, they age slowly, staying fit for at least 150 years.
Nice. So he's probably about 60. But let's see. Change, greater good, lawful. Honor, if I dishonor myself, I dishonor my whole clan.
Being lawful, that kind of sounds like it might fit.
Mm-hmm. And his bonds.
Now, is an outlander somebody that like doesn't have a tribe anymore? Is kind of like maybe left home and goes wandering around in the world?
Yeah. I am the last of my tribe, and it is up to me to ensure their names enter legend. So he's the last of his kind. And his flaw, I remember every insult I've received and nurse a silent resentment toward anyone who's ever wronged me. That sounds good. Yeah.
I always like the one that says, I'd rather eat my armor than admit that I was wrong.
I'm slow to trust members of other races, tribes, and societies. Yeah, maybe. I think he always harbors a grudge. So that's good.
Yeah, but being the last of his kind, pretty much, I would think that he wouldn't want to alienate every other race.
Exactly. So that's his background. We already have his inventory dealt with. Got his stuff going. All right. So I haven't picked a deity yet or anything else, but that should be good. Log sheet for Adventure League. And here we go. So something is missing here. So the spear. I do not see the spear on my inventory. So I need to go down and make sure it's equipped or that I have one. I do not see the spear. There we go. Now it's in the inventory. So now it shows up on the actions tab. So I put 1 for ammo in case I throw it. And then I have 20 crossbow bolts, so I changed that. And now I'm going to actually create another variation of the spear. So the spear is going to basically have a two-handed property in case. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the sheet here and just add a kind of a variation of that weapon. So I'm going to add weapon, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is carried or equipped. So it is equipped. And I'm going to put, I'm going to copy and paste the properties of the jab or the melee variety, not the thrown one.
Oh, you must not have that equipment thing
No, I don't have it.
on here with the two-handed thing.
Correct.
Metacurry suggested he can worship the ancient Minotaur god Muradin.
Muradin. Okay, so now the damage dice is going to be a little bit higher because it's versatile. So it's going to go to the next damage dice, which is 8. It's still piercing. And I labeled it two-handed. So now if I use this weapon, I will realize that it's for two-handed use. But when I create the character later, I'm going to add the shield drop action in the standard action. So I'm going to actually go ahead and create that now. So right now I've done with the weapons, and I'm going to create a new group or a new category. So I'm going to go ahead and click the edit button. And this time I will click on the powers, which is not really going to be a power. This is just going to be standard actions. So now that I click over here, it updates. Now this is called standard actions. So I'm just going to call this power shield drop. And like I said, it's not really a power, it's more of an effect. So I'm going to right click on it where it says shield drop, add action, and I'm going to add this little running man thing, which is an effect. So now what I'm going to do is copy the name, put a semicolon after there. So that tells Fantasy Grounds to ignore anything to the left. And I'm going to put the condition, which is going to affect armor class, followed by a colon, -2, which is the modifier. So now when I use the two-handed weapon or the crossbow, you can click on that effect. And what that'll do is mathematically subtract the shield bonus from the combat tracker area.
By the way, if anyone noticed when he pulled up the radial menu that the icons look a little different, that's because we're using the latest version of Fantasy Grounds, 3.3.10. And that has some additional, I mean, the things look a little different. I'm still getting used to to the way it looks, because it looks a little different. And I'm like, I have to like hover over it to see what the heck I'm clicking on.
And one thing I forgot is to set this on targets. I need to change it to self. So now when I apply the effect, it will apply the shield drop to myself.
Gee, wouldn't it be fun if you could use something like that and make someone else's AC drop by 2? That would be some interesting.
When you're done, you can minus it out and resume with your shield protection. So that's that. Now I'm going to pull up Rob Tui's coding effects. And there are 4 actions that are standard actions. Dodge, help, hide, and ready. So these are all going to be in the same category with the shield drop thing. Figure those are kind of standard type actions. The shield drop isn't really a standard action, but it's a good spot to put it. So there we go. That's that. And now I have to start building the other traits. So I don't think there are any developed for these yet, except for some of the clerical ones. So I'll go ahead and do that. So right now I'm going to create the domain area for the cleric. So these are the class features. So add another power group.
When you make your domain spells power, do you separate your levels, or do you put all the domain spells all in just the power called domain spell?
I would probably put them in a different category. You could put them in here, but it depends. Depends on if you're
Yeah.
going to change anything in here.
Also important to make sure at the top on the power itself to make sure that the ability is set to wisdom, because being that it isn't a cantrip or a spell class, it's not going to automatically give you your spell casting ability.
So what she's saying is in the power group, sometimes you have to set the stat. So I just set this to wisdom. So if anything is keyed off of your wisdom, it would do so. So you're kind of forcing it. So in that case, I'm going to go to the cleric abilities. I'm in the Rob 2E's coding effects, and I have the cleric class features here. So one of the main things is turn undead. So turn undead is based on your wisdom, a DC of 8. But if you actually click on this magnifying glass here, it will update to 12. So it automatically update. It basically, you forced Fantasy Grounds to parse it. So now it knows that your DC challenge rating is 4, or 4 higher than 8, because you get +2 from your proficiency bonus and then +2 from the wisdom. So that's why it's 12. And that's right, it should be 12. Now, I need to create another feature, which is this Channel Divinity Twilight Sanctuary. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this over onto the sheet. That way I can grab the description. And then I'm going to copy and paste the category. And now it's in the same group. So this is a second level domain feature. You can use this to refresh your allies with soothing light. As an action, so it is one action, you present your holy symbol and a sphere of twilight emanates from you. The sphere is centered on you and it has a 30-foot radius. So let's go ahead and put 30 in parentheses, so we know it's 30 feet. And it's filled with a dim light so that you get a little twilight out of it. The sphere moves with you, and it lasts for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. So what we're going to do is I'm going to right-click on the power itself, and there's some other stuff that can remove. So what we're going to do is make a power. So I'm going to, let's see how we're going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to right-click on here. I'm going to add an action. And this action is just going to be the removal of the effect of either charm or frightened. So that's just going to be a note. So I'm going to add an effect. And this is going to be to end or remove the effects from frightened or charm.
What are you going to use for the twilight part of this? Because there is no effect called twilight, right? All right, notification. Quit dinging it. That was your notification, by the way, Laerun.
Okay. So remove or end frightened and or charm. So that's one. And then it said that the light lasts for a minute. So what I'm going to do is create another effect in the same vein here. So again, I'm going to add another action. I'm going to add the effect. So it's twilight, and it lasts 1 minute. And I'll put it on self. because basically it centers on you. Unless you die or become incapacitated, then it will stay.
I don't see how you can code that part, right? The incapacitated part.
No, it's more of a note.
See.
So there's that. And now for temporary hit points. So the third part of this is rule tip. Temporary hit points don't stack. So if you already have some, they cannot. So just as it says there on the tip. So you give 1d8 temporary hit points. So I'm going to right click on this effect. I am going to add action. I'm going to add heal. And I'm going to define the heal. So it'd be 1d8. But instead of HP, it's going to say temp. So when you apply that to yourself or to your ally, it will give them 1d8 temporary hit points. So basically, it's 2 notes and a temporary heal. So that's how that effect boils down.
And this is not concentration either, right?
No. Let's see. And it just takes an action to do this. Doesn't look like, it says you can use to refresh your allies. Okay. So it's a soothing light, and you can remove fear and charm, or frightened and charmed. So that is what that does. That's not too shabby for, for a channel divinity. And the description stays with it. So that's why I dragged it from the description, so I'd have that. Now I'm going to look at channel divinity for a moment. Okay, you have to finish a short or long rest to use your channel divinity again.
But you only get one per level wait, is it based on your wisdom how many times you could do it, or
Well,
was
it
it just
says
once per
beginning
long?
at once. It says beginning at 6th level, you can use it twice. So
Oh, well, that's
you only get it
6th level.
once.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the preparation mode. Change it to once daily. So now we know how often we can use it. So
Wouldn't
you can
it be
use one or
rest?
the other. It says, does it say long or short rest?
I thought you said short rest.
Yeah. So if that's the case, we would change this to rest.
Okay, rest makes it a little powerful then, because I mean, all you have to do is rest. What is it, an hour or whatever? And you get that back again, and then you can sanctuary your party member. I think that would be better off being a long rest.
Right, but it's governed by
just
the
my
base.
opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, but if you base it off channel divinity, you're not breaking the rules. You're actually short or long rest. So, but you can't do both. So you can do either turn undead or the sanctuary. You can't do both.
Yeah, because you only have one. But the turn undead only resets after. Does the turn undead reset after short rest? I thought that was long rest.
Yep, it'll reset after short. So there we go. There's that.
So much of a cleric is long rest, so I'm not used to short rest stuff.
So here's the Eyes of the Night, which is another feature, but this is not a channel divinity.
Was that a racial ability?
Nope,
The
class feature.
Eyes of the Night? Oh.
Class feature. So you're blessed. You can see through the gloom. You have dark vision with no maximum range. You see in dim light as if it was bright light. You see in darkness as if it was dim light. As an action, you can magically give the benefit of this feature to any number of creatures you can see within 10 feet. So anyone near you, you can give them this ability, and it lasts for 10 minutes. So
and
I'm
you
going to
pick and choose because I mean you're not going to give it to
people who already
your
have
opponent.
it, or people that already have
or
it.
yeah.
But it's more powerful in a way. So add an action, and it's going to be an effect. It's just going to be a note, and it said it lasts 10 minutes. So I'm going to put minutes here, put 10 here for duration, and then it'll stay on target. So Eyes of the Night, Dark Vision. That's what it's going to be. Just a note. So when you apply that to your allies or to yourself, it'll just give your DM a notation.
10 minutes is a long freaking time.
Yeah, it
That's the
is.
same amount of time as a ritual.
Yep. So Eyes of the Night, really cool feature. So that's dealt with. You regain it when you finish a long rest. Okay,
That's
hold on.
fair because that is a
Yeah.
very
You
powerful
extend
feature.
this benefit a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. So what we're going to do is change this to preparation. Eyes of the Night is after a daily, and his modifier is 2. So he gets 2, and it refreshes after a long rest. So it's a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. So his modifier is +2. So there you go. Eyes of the Night. Vigilant Blessing. So let's put that in here. This is another feature. So Vigilant Blessing, as an action, you can give one creature you touch advantage. So this would be like grant advantage, basically. So I will right click on it and add 2 actions, actually. So one will be targets, and it says the benefit ends immediately after the roll, or if you use the feature again. So I'm going to change the expend to on next roll, and it's going to be so Vigilant Blessing. And let me see, how do you give out advantage to someone else? So it's ADV, I believe. Yeah, so ADV, grant advantage. Okay. Let me make sure that's right. So if you are hiding, oh, it's ADV attack, grant attack. Okay, so grant advantage. Sounds right. Or you can just have them click advantage and they would get the roll. So there you go. Vigilant Blessing, grant advantage.
That's not bad because you get it at level 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just see in a game, and you have this feature, and your DM says roll initiative, and you go, wait, don't do it yet.
Oh
Let
yeah,
me do
that's on
my vigilant
initiative.
advantage.
Yeah.
Vigilant.
Yeah, that's initiative. So I need to fix
Isn't
that.
that what this is? This was
AD,
initiative, right?
ADVINIT. That's what it needs to be. I didn't put the right syntax.
Okay.
So it has to be ADVINIT. That's how you code it. So now it's target. So you can target yourself or an ally.
Was this the one where they had to be within 10 feet?
It says you give a creature you touch. So let me write that on
Okay,
there.
so they have to be within 5 feet. So only your party members that are directly next to you.
So it's a touch feature. Eyes of the Night, 10 feet. There we go. So that's that. And then now all we have left are the domain spells. So I'm going to make a new section. I'm going to add this new group.
I have a question on domain spells. So you get some at level 1, you get some at level 3, and you get some at level 5, and I can't remember. 7th, I guess it's every other level. You get 2 new spells. Okay. Now, when you are going to cast them, do they apply with the actual spell level or the 1, 3, 5, 7
I
as
believe
far
1,
as
3, 5.
So Fairy Fire, I don't believe that's a first level spell, but for you it's a first level spell? Is
I think
that
so. Let me check.
okay?
So I'm going to go to the library, excuse me, the spells. I'm going to filter it to spells, 5e effects coding spells. Fairy Fire is a first level evocation spell. So I'm going to drag that spell over to the domain spells. I'm also going to make the domain spells wisdom based.
Right. Is sleep a first level spell?
I'll find out. So that's that. Yep.
I like Fairy Fire.
Level 1 enchantment. So there we go there. And darkness.
Now is that a level 3 actual spell?
It's a level 2 spell.
Ah, so would it count as level 2 or would you have to count that as level 3 when you're casting it?
You cast it from whatever level you have in spell slots.
Yeah, but it doesn't count for spell slot because it's
It does.
Oh wait.
You
No,
still
it
use
does. It
spell
doesn't
slots.
you don't have to memorize it or practice it.
Yes. So that's that. And then invisibility. Why not light?
Light is a cantrip.
Oh, that's why. That probably gives you cantrips too. Okay. So one action, invisibility, domain spell. Okay. So that's that. This also gives you spells from other schools that you normally wouldn't have access to. Some of those are wizard spells.
I don't think you get Leomund's tiny hut. I know bards get.
So now I'm going to go to level 0, and I'm going to filter this to cleric. And if you want to know how many spells you get per level, you go to your class description. And I should have had that bookmark down below, but anyways, so you come down here and you look at your chart here, and it says at 3rd level, you just get a +2 proficiency, and you also get 3 cantrips. So I'm going to pick 3. So I'm going to pick Light as one of mine.
Sacred Flame.
Sacred Flame. Sounds good. So I'm going to go Light, Sacred Flame, and probably Guidance.
Really? I think the one that I like the most, in my opinion,
Toll
is
of
the
the
one
Dead.
where the person, yeah, not
Okay.
Toll the Dead. That's a Xanathar's thing.
Yeah.
No, the one where somebody is just hanging in there, and you. Yeah, wait a minute. Where
Spare
is
the
it?
Dying.
Spare the Dying. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. I had to look at the list.
Okay. So there they go. And I just click on any of these spells, and it'll expand, and it will base it off of your whatever it's based off of. So it will examine or reparse the spells so that you get the correct DC challenge rating. I don't know why it doesn't auto lookup, but sometimes it won't.
I don't
So
know why I thought that you got 4 cantrips, but nope, you sure
nope,
don't.
nope.
Not until 4th level.
Okay.
Maybe because I recently made a light cleric, and the light cleric gets the light as a free extra spell, so that would be the 4th.
So now I'm going to grab some 1st level spells. So Cure Wounds for sure.
Healing Word.
Guiding Bolt.
I love Guiding Bolt.
And Bless.
You're not going to get Healing Words?
Mm-mm.
What happens if you're not next to someone to heal them? Then you can't heal them
I
because
did
you
get
don't
Healing
have a
Word.
ranged.
I do already have it.
Well, oh, okay.
So I have 4.
Actually, you get to take them all, but apparently you don't have that extension loaded where
Yeah.
you can drag them over.
Right. Right.
Hello, Diablo Bob. We love your
Mm-hmm.
extension.
So the other one would be Spiritual Weapon. Love that spell.
Yeah, that's fun. I like to take my cantrip and then add it to the spiritual weapon, and I end up with 2 attacks.
What about Hold Person?
I like it, but you're not always fighting
Right.
people.
Silence, 120-foot radius.
That's good if you're fighting a bunch of
Wizards.
mages or something.
Yeah. Or if you want to be quiet with your group. Sneaking up. Okay.
I find lesser restoration helpful too, because that's for where you
Poisons.
can poison. Which ones is it? Poison. Is it
Exhaustion. Probably.
petrify? I can't remember. There's 3 of them.
Okay. So that's that. Now I'm going to add the racial stuff. So race traits. So I'm going to go ahead and add another group. And now I'm going to drag these over, even though they're really not powers. And now I got to put them in the right group. Okay, there we go. So hammering horns. And there's your strength DC. So it's 10. Why is that? It's, oh, your modifier, yes. But it was supposed to be also your proficiency bonus. So strength plus ability, stat plus bonus. Strength 8 plus ability, which is strength. Oh, no. There we go. So it's strength, ability plus proficiency. So that's right. Because it says here that they have to make a save equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength modifier. So that's why I had to change that. So now it's right. Strength, ability, proficiency. There we go. All right. So then your horns, the hammering horns themselves, give you 1d6 plus 2, which is right because it's based on strength. And then your hybrid nature is pretty much just a note. So there we go. So there's a racial trait, all the spells, all the coded actions, including some custom ones. And now, one last thing. The stuff I like to add, which you don't have to, is the consumable items or supplies. All right, so healing potion. You have your candles.
And your 10 rations?
In this case, he has 5, but yes, your rations.
Oh, okay.
And then you have water skin. So now I'm going to change this over to the standard, or excuse me, the preparation. I'm going to change the daily to once.
Oh, you named it supplies. I started looking there and I'm like, wait, that doesn't look like it says consumable.
Yeah, I changed it to supplies, same thing. And then you can add the healing function to the potion itself. So I'm going to right click on it, add action, add the heal.
Super helpful when you're playing in the game.
And then just right click on the 4-sided dice, pick up 2 dice, drop it in there. And it's +2 for bonus. And you're ready to rock. So now I'm going to change to combat mode and actions. So this is what you want your character sheet to look like when it's done. All ready to go. Now I'm going to do a command. So I did right/save, hit enter, and now that character is saved.
And the DM can export it for you and you can take it and
so
print it out, use it somewhere else or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm going to take and go to the PC area. And I'm going to change this. His name's Murdoch. Okay. So from here, you can export this or import. In this case, you click the edit button and this little blue arrow appears. And it will ask you where you want to save it. So I'm going to call it Murdoch Level 3 Cleric.
But are you going to lose your sound when you open up your thing?
I
Because
don't think so.
sometimes your sound gets snatched away when you
lose
go
focus.
outside the program.
Yeah, sometimes it does. All right, so that is.
Now, I just did this tip about importing and exporting in my Fantasy Grounds tips for beginners.
Yay. Okay. So that should be that. So what we've done is we basically did a character build session, but we used the UA stuff, and we also demonstrated at the beginning that you might want to save your UA content. The only way to really do that is to make each group, depending on what you're saving, make copies of those and put them in a separate group. That way, if any changes are made, or if they take the UA content down for some reason, you'll still have it. Also, LadyShel has links to the UA content. So there's the official content, which is on the Wizards of the Coast website. There is also a place where you can get on the Fantasy Grounds store, you can get UA for $1. And if you go on Steam, if you use Steam as your purchase point, you can get it for free. And that comes because Smiteworks has to put a value on everything in their store. So anything else, Shell?
I can't think of anything, but I think we made a really kick-ass cleric Minotaur here. And
Yep.
I wouldn't mind using it for a game some.
Yeah, no doubt. I like the abilities.
Yeah, you just have to make sure that your DM would allow UA content in his or her game.
That is correct. You want to check because sometimes it's overpowered, and sometimes it may clash with what's going on in the game. So,
But so far, what we built today, I don't think really anything is overpowered. Except for, wait, did I say that one? I can't remember which ability it was that I said it should have been maybe a short rest. Was it Eyes of the Night? I can't remember. One of them was a short rest, and maybe it was the Vigilant Blessing. I don't remember. Anyway, I like this build, and I would like to use it in somebody's campaign. So, hope you enjoyed our stream. Thank you for coming, peoples.
yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This video will also go up on YouTube, so if you missed most of it, it'll go up there. Mainly, we wanted to show you that you can actually customize your builds. So I had to build a lot of the content because it hasn't been done yet. So
Lost some of what you said.
I was just saying that you can build your own effects and content after you add the abilities from your race and from your domain, and you could build those yourself. So those aren't too bad, but it takes a little practice and getting to know the system. So hopefully that'll be it. So I will.
And don't forget, next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, we will be having another stream where we will be discussing the Vampire the Masquerade rule set that just came out with Fantasy Grounds. We will have Erlen Sishu on our show, and he is going to be teaching at the college about this rule set. So he's going to hopefully help us build the character on stream. So don't miss it if you're interested in the Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay. So I will let you guys go. You have a good evening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.